Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and today I'm talking about the awesome space combat flight sim Shadow Squadron for Sega 32X. In Europe, this is known as Stellar Assault. I absolutely love space combat flight sim games, and I'm really sad that there hasn't been a lot of new ones lately, except I guess whatever's going on with Star Citizen, or I guess Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, but Shadow Squadron came out for the 32X in 1995, and I've said it before, the 32X always gets crapped on and made fun of, but it has a lot of great games. Now, back in September, I covered the Star Wars Arcade 32X game, and it's a very similar game, same kind of game as Shadow Squadron, but Shadow Squadron is far more superior. You start the game by choosing between two different ships called Feather 1 and Feather 2. I'll cover the difference between the two ships a bit later, but for your first time playing, I suggest choosing Feather 1. The game starts with you taking off from a space station, and while the graphics aren't impressive to today's standards, back in the day these were awesome and mind-blowing. You were getting these 3D polygons to come out of what essentially was the Sega Genesis. As soon as you jump in the first mission, you'll be extremely happy if you've ever played the Star Wars 32X game, because the gameplay is a million times better as you can actually freely fly in any direction, something that Star Wars Arcade faked. You'll need a 6-button controller to play this game, as you have speed controls to throttle up and down as well as controls to barrel roll your ship. You can also choose to fly in third person by pressing the mode button, but I don't recommend it. Staying in the cockpit is the way to go. Each mission has different objectives that will brief you before each mission. Sometimes you have to destroy everything, and sometimes only a few specific targets. The enemies consist of larger battleships and small fighters. To destroy the battleships, you have to shoot off pieces of the craft to destroy the integrity of the ship's hull for it to explode. You can do this by shooting off its wings, engines, or any polygonal piece you can find. You can, however, focus your fire on the centermost part of the hull and the ship will explode completely, but it will take much longer, and the best way to destroy a ship is just to cripple it by destroying different sections of it. The two ships have their own unique properties. The Feather 1 is a fast one-man fighter that has automatic dual laser gun, lock-on torpedoes, and a super shield that can absorb enemy torpedoes and help you ram through small ships or blast through the wings of enemy battleships. The Feather 1 is also the fastest ship in the game. Feather 1 uses the red energy to power its engines, lasers, and torpedoes, and the super shield drains from the blue shield energy. At the end of each level, you'll dock with a refueling ship that will replenish your energy and shield levels. This is one of the reasons I suggest choosing this ship as your first time playing. The Feather 2 is a much larger ship and capable of housing both a pilot and a gunner, which means you can use this ship to play with a friend, much like Star Wars Arcade. One person pilots and the other will gun. Unlike Star Wars Arcade though, the pilot cannot shoot any of his own lasers. The pilot will just pilot, but it's still fun to play together. The great news is you can inverse the flight controls any way you like, and so that's very helpful when you're playing two-player. Like, for example, Star Wars Arcade, if you were the gunner, you were trying to move the gun, but it had flight controls, so down was up and up was down. That's kind of weird when you're being a gunner. So as the second player, you can change that option to inverse the controls or not inverse the controls and just be able to customize the way you play. It's greatly appreciated. Now, instead of automatic twin lasers, the Feather 2 is equipped with a single semi-automatic laser cannon, but is way more powerful than Feather 1's lasers. You can cut through ships very quickly with the Feather 2. The best thing about Feather 2 is that its laser cannon can destroy the enemy torpedoes that are coming at you instead of having to dodge them in the Feather 1 ship, so that's very helpful in the later levels when the larger battleships are just shooting an insane amount of them at you. You know, something I was wondering is why in these old space games are the enemy torpedoes this weird dodecahedron type glowing orb? It's the exact same in Star Wars Arcade. Look, go ahead, it's the same kind of shape for the torpedoes. Like, who decided, yes, that's what we're gonna use for the enemy torpedoes? The Feather 2 is slower than Feather 1, but its engines and lasers don't drain any of the red energy. Feather 2's special weapon is capable of destroying full battleships, which is such an awesome attack, and it will pull and drain from the shield energy. After each mission, there is no refueling ship to replenish your shields. Instead, you start with a set amount of reserve energy that your ship will pull from to replenish your shields once the mission has ended. To get more energy, you'll have to die and use a continue credit to get more. So even though Feather 2 has its incredible powerful shot, you'll want to reserve using your shield energy for those shots that really count. You can also choose to play the Feather 2 single player, where you take control of both piloting and gunning. And since you'll be pressing the shoot button repeatedly, it takes a little more skill to jump around the gamepad, controlling all of the ship's different controls, which is why I suggest Feather 1 until you get more inclined with the game's controls. You can also choose to have the game pilot the ship, which is also a great feature if you're in the mood to turn the this game into an arcade shooter. To break it down though, Feather 1 is more fun to sit back and have a good time blasting things away, where Feather 2 is a little more involved, but definitely is the superior ship between the two. The music of this game is so fun. It's so upbeat and cheerful and really adds a lighthearted approach to this game. There are some games that I classify as Saturday morning type of games, and Shadow Squadron is the absolute epitome of that Saturday morning kind of game, where you can just throw it on and just sit back and have fun at any given time. This game only has 6 levels, but they dramatically increase in difficulty the more you go on. The last few levels will take some time, so you won't finish the game super quick. The last level is so insanely, stupidly difficult, and it also is a timed level, and that's one of my most hated things in video games. I hate time limits. But to be 100% honest with you, I have never beaten this last level. I have tried countless times, and I've tried with friends. I've never tried on autopilot mode, so maybe I should try that. But I am going to go ahead and link someone else's video here of if you're interested in seeing how the last level is. This person finishes it in 1.4 seconds, so there's no room for error. It's just absolutely insane, and I just have never been able to do it. When you finish the game by dying or either beating it, you can go to the main screen and watch a complete replay of your game with cinematic flyby cameras. It still blows my mind that there's enough RAM in either the cartridge or the system for it to memorize all your movements and recreate them. It's really fun to rewatch and just admire the awesome old 3D polygon style. Shadow Squadron is a hidden gem among space sim games, and it's my favorite 32X game. It's so much better than Star Wars Arcade 32X, and I love these kind of games so much, and I wish they would make a comeback. There was an updated Shadow Squadron for Sega Saturn, but it only came out in Japan, and I never got to try it. It's so stupidly expensive to import now, so I probably won't get it. But thank you so very much for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and jump in your spaceship and go save the galaxy.